Good morning and welcome to the press moment of Foreign Minister of Estonia and Foreign Minister of Sweden. We start with statements from the ministers and then we'll take questions. Foreign Minister of Estonia, please.
I'm so glad to receive my colleague Tobias here in Tallinn, and this is a significant and important point that my colleague is making the second foreign trip to Estonia, and I think this is a good basis for a enhanced as a regional and bilateral cooperation. We are looking very much. We discussed the central issue of our discussions today was first around the security. Estonia is a strong proponent. Nobody would be on earth see a smooth entry of Sweden and Finland to NATO family, and I think it gives also additional dimension to our Nordic-Baltic cooperation when all countries belonging will be members. Secondly, we discussed also the need of cooperation and sharing the information on defense of our civic infrastructure, of any possible threats which might arise from Russia. We spoke also about the future of our actions, how to support Ukraine. Estonia finds and that this is of utmost importance to create a particular tribunal on crime of aggression of Russian Federation against Ukraine. And I made a set of proposals also to cooperate on issues of reconstruction of Ukraine, any practical development help aid project together. And we spoke also about our recent report paper of enhancement of our bilateral relations of Estonia and Sweden, and I hope we are going also to make practical deliverables in future also to improve that paper, that it will not just be a paper on the bookshelves.
Very good. Thank you very much, Urmas, for receiving me here. I'm very happy to be here in Tallinn, in Estonia. And as you right and properly mentioned, this is my second trip as in my new capacity as a foreign minister. And as close neighbors, Estonia and Sweden, we share a long history of friendship, deep cultural and personal ties, and also fundamental values, which I think is important to mention. But also we face challenges because of Russia's aggression towards Ukraine, and these have profound implications, and it is important that we stand together in this grave threat to European security that this constitutes. I've had very sincere and fruitful talks with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Reinsalu. I look forward to have it with both you and also with Ms. Huitfeldt, the Norwegian Minister for Foreign Affairs as well. And I think that this is also very good that we come together in the Nordic-Baltic family to discuss topics of joint interests. This trip of mine and the trips that I'm undertaking to several Nordic and Baltic countries constitutes a shift in Swedish foreign policy, where we put more emphasis on Northern Europe. And Nordic and Baltic countries and the European Union as a platform, these will be the three pillars of the Swedish foreign policy, of our foreign policy. And I look forward to close dialogue and cooperation with Estonia on regional security, on both bilaterally, of course, and also EU and NATO accession, which in every relation is on the top of the to-do list for the Swedish government. So thanks again for receiving me here and for your kind words of friendship and welcoming you, Urmas. Thank you. That's most appreciated.
Thank you. We now take questions.
Karel Kressa from Delfi. To both ministers, you mentioned possible threats to infrastructure. Can you elaborate on that a little bit and on the cooperation options? And specifically to Swedish minister, where are we now with the Nord Stream investigation? Can we now say with certainty that it was Russia?
I think it's very important to share information. And secondly, well, we have got a vast attacks coming in a cyber domain coming from Russian soil. And I think we should not exclude any provocative hybrid attacks coming from Russia, which aim is indeed to threaten us and also to tie our interest from Ukraine to our territory. And in that context, we should be prepared. This is, I think, the most important point.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree completely with my colleague, and I think it was very good that you mentioned cyber. This is of a special interest for both Estonia and for Sweden, and also one of the reasons I chose to come to Estonia, because you are at the forefront of many things which are connected to cyber. We should take the present security situation very seriously, and the threats which it imposes when it comes to threats, specific threats to infrastructure, have to be looked into. And this is also a topic for international cooperation. Finally, on Nord Stream, the investigations are continuing by the Swedish prosecution agency, so I don't have any more comments on that particular topic. Thank you.
About NATO and Turkey, have Sweden changed his mind about Turkey's demands to join NATO?
Thank you for the question. Well, the Prime Minister of Sweden has been very clear. Sweden will continue to implement the trilateral memorandum signed by Sweden, by Finland and by Turkey, and we take this seriously and have already taken several steps. We will continue to fulfill this within the framework of the Swedish constitution and based on the principles of legal safety. But the conditions will be fulfilled, yes.
What about these terrorists, like Turkey said? Didn't change your mind at all?
Well, counter-terrorism will be a priority for Sweden, both before and after our accession to NATO, and that is including the follow-up of the so-called Madrid agreement, and we take our commitments seriously. That is being done in dialogue with Turkey, and I believe that dialogue will, in the fullness of time, prove fruitful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Sweden started an additional investigation about these pipelines, Nord Streams. Any news so far?
The investigation is being conducted by the Swedish prosecutors agency, and I don't have any more comments to give on that before that investigation is concluded. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, don't have
we have some minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, we take.
If we do, then
Mikhail Vladislavov, Youth of Tallinn. I'd like to ask you about the Baltic Sea. At the end of the last century, we talked the Baltic Sea as a sea of friendship and cooperation. How do you see it now? Is it a new battlefield between NATO countries and Russia? Or we can imagine another future?
Well,
Baltic Sea is very small. It's, yeah.
Is the question directed to my colleague?
To both, I
Well,
think.
I can give a few
I
comments.
suppose we will both be members of NATO, finally.
Thank you. Well, with the accession of both Sweden and Finland to NATO, there will only be one country left with coast on the Baltic Sea, which is not a NATO member. I think that this will prove significant in reducing the security threats of this region. And this has been the aim of the Swedish government ever since we started the discussions in Sweden on NATO accession. It is right and proper to see the Baltic Sea as a region of cooperation, of trade, of much things which are beneficial to us all. And let's hope that will continue into the future. But having said this, right now we're facing a situation which is full of security threats. They have to be reduced, and the accession of Sweden and Finland into NATO will be an addition to that reductment of security threats. Thank you.
Well, there is going on a war in Europe. There's going to war, and this is not a particular issue of Baltic Sea coasts. This is an issue of security threats all over the Europe. And from Estonian part, our determination should be, and political will should be, solely concentrate on the assisting Ukraine to win this war.
I associate myself completely with that view. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Ministers. We now end the press. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.